The CBSE on Tuesday released a draft policy proposing several changes in its class 10th board examination process. The board has proposed to conduct two board exams annually, compress the schedule of the exams, and also give an option to students to either appear for one or both. Hello and welcome to The Print. This is Fareeha Iftikhar, and today we will discuss about this draft policy in detail. And we are joined by educationist Meeta Sengupta and education and policy analyst Ashok Pandey, who was former director of Ahlcon Schools as well. Welcome to The Print, sir. Welcome to The Print, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much for joining us to discuss this important topic today. My first question will be from Meeta, ma'am. Ma'am, what is your first reaction to this draft policy and what are the key takeaways according to you?
First reaction, I think, is just relief because it's taken so long for it to come through from the CBSE. This was indicated by the new education policy way back in 2020, and it's taken them 5 years to implement the first step of giving this basic second chance to all of those people who were not able to show their best showing on the day of that exam. So, this is not always about the best of the students. This is about the rest of us who are ordinary, normal people who have had to travel to take an examination, who had troubles at home, who just got very nervous on the day of the exam. That is the majority of the people who are taking an exam who deserve a second chance, maybe even a third and a fourth chance. So, I am just relieved that they have actually begun the implementation of that aspect of the policy. That's the first reaction. And I think the key takeaways, of course, very well written in the CBSE document, from my point of view, are that it has upheld the principles, the three principles that I observed in the NEP, which were the aspects of choice, chance, and challenge. It is giving more choice to the students, it's giving more chances to the students, and of course, for those who are highly competitive, that small 1% of people, it is challenging them to do better. So it's great for those who are fantastic type A high achievers. It's great for those who are also struggling and want to give themselves an opportunity to showcase their work much, much better. I'll pause here. There's so much more to say about this wonderful move.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashok sir, from your perspective, what are the major takeaways and how do you see this? What is the first reaction?
Yeah, I mean, you see, the first reaction to this cannot be articulated better than what Meeta has already said. But since Meeta has already said it, I will quickly jump to what after this. You see, the question is the devil lies in the details, right? It is very nice to say that there will be two board examinations. It gives flexibility and choices. It also, adheres to the principles of inclusion, as we call it. It's perfectly fine. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But then the problem begins from there. And what are those problems? You see, earlier also we had the second chance, but that was limited to only some students who
Yeah.
were declared not having performed well, right? And then there was a stigma of re-examination or compartment examination as we use. So the second chance was always there. Now, I would imagine that if it was extended to the fact that this second chance is not only available to those who do not do well, but also to those who wanted to do better. In fact, in one way, that was also available. But extending it further to those who were excluded out of this second chance, and who were excluded, who could met with some accident, some family emergency, medical reasons, they were away for something even more important for their life, they were excluded from this. And therefore, I would have imagined extending the writ of this second chance to all those would have been a better way to do it than to bring it down to two board examinations. Now tell me, if we project it as two board examination, it only multiplies the stress of the first examination to the second examination. Whatever the follies of the board examination, first we are going to reward it in the second board examination, and then a whole lot of logistics to it, a whole
Yeah.
lot of teachers engaged in it, and so many issues. So we can discuss it later. So
Yeah.
my summarized answer to your first question is welcome, but then the details need even better deliberation.
Meeta ma'am, so after the introduction of this common university entrance test, CUET, so like the relevance of, it is said that the relevance of students' performance in class 12th or the school performance, it has been reduced somehow. Do you think at this time when actually the marks don't mean much, it is still important to have like this two board thing where the students can further improve their exams?
I'd actually, before I answer that, I'd like to go back to one beautiful word that Ashok just used, which was called if you want to project this as a change. Because what has actually happened, and he very rightly pointed it out, is that the supplementary exam has just been designated as the second board exam instead of, and that's sort of a halfway solution. The idea was to reduce the stakes, to reduce the pressure, to reduce the mental pressure on students. I mean, student suicides are a massive issue for us right now. And so in a way what is happening is you have chance 1 in the first board exam, chance 2 in the second board exam, and chance 3 in the CUET. Now all and each of these individually was supposed to be optional. It is ideally supposed to be optional. So if you say that I want to take 3 papers in the first exam and only 2 papers or 3 papers in the next exam, so I share my workload, the guidelines say that that is actually possible for you. I
Yeah.
can't study 7 subjects at the same time. Or I know that if I take all the exams in the first sitting, then I will not have enough days to study for, let's say, my physics paper or my science paper. This way, in the second sitting, you have 3 months to study for it.
Yeah.
If you have and here's the paradox, right? It's only confident students who will be able to do that, but the whole policy is designed for those who are shaky ground. So just having 2 exams or just with the CUET is neither here nor there. You're absolutely right. The CUET has reduced the um, tension and the stress of achieving in class 12.
Yeah,
However,
that 20%
university
score.
absolutely, but also many universities abroad, many others courses that you sign up for in the first 5 or 10 years of your career will still ask for your class 12 board marks in order to understand how, not because marks themselves are important, but whether you were capable of goal setting and working your way towards achieving a goal. You see, the entire thing is, are you employable? You are employable if I give you a sales target, you know how to go for it. You are employable if you set a marks target or a pass target and you were able to go for it. So these are all indicators in the first few years of your employment saying that you're a great candidate. The CUET has a very limited part of it. It just says this is the first next step. The class 12 is a school leaving examination and
Yeah.
therefore has implications for the first few years of your career.
Yeah, yeah. So that means like the importance of school examinations continues to be there even if
By the
after.
design of the question paper,
Hmm, hmm.
because of the design of the question paper as a school leaving exam.
Yeah. Ashok sir, you just mentioned about logistical challenges also. Schools serve as the centers for these examinations. And till now, it was happening only once in a year. Now it will happen twice. How challenging it will be.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I do not want to shift the focus of this discussion to these challenges or nitty gritties. Nonetheless, they are very important and they will come in the way of implementation. And that
Yeah.
is why it is necessary that we discuss it here. So, one board examination, if you do an analysis, lasts for almost 45 to 50 days, right? And
Absolutely.
most of the teachers, beginning with the first practical examinations, they begin in the first week of Feb or last week of January until the last examination, even post that for evaluation. I mean, you will be aghast the number of days, teaching days are lost just because these teachers are not available to their schools. Now,
True.
imagine this is to cater to the needs of the board examinees. How about the needs of who are the rest in the school where they are to be taught? They also are to be looked after, but these teachers are just not available. Now, you double this time when these teachers will not be available to those children. Now what happens to them? So this is one logistical thing. The second logistical thing is that after the first examination that you appear, irrespective of your result, board proposes today, I don't know if it will change, that you will be automatically admitted to class 11.
11th. Yeah.
until your second board examination result comes.
Yeah.
Now, imagine if the result is not favorable, after 2 to 3 months, the child will be back to class 10. Right now, also imagine the logistics of the schools, having classes for particular subject, particular teachers, and so on and so forth. So anyway, let it be where it goes. My question is that we are not thinking of a transformative assessment and evaluation system. We are only going organically into what are the reforms we can introduce. That is where my problem lies. You see, now we are in a different era of AI and digital and technology based assessment systems. Imagine the next year's projected figure is 3 million children will appear in class 10 alone. Now, over a period of time, if it becomes half half, you imagine the kind of strain it is going to have on the board and on the schools. Board will not be able to do it alone. They do not have any resources. They have to depend on the schools. And now the kind of, the schools are also not, I'm not using a harsh word here, but the fact is that even if your school is a center, you are not the center superintendent. You are center superintendent somewhere else. Your PGTs are center superintendent somewhere else. Everybody is out. Imagine a teacher who does not have exposure to examination beyond his or her invigilation duty experience is appointed as center superintendent in another school. So, I mean, these are the challenges that we are going to face. So, this is number one. Number two challenge, Fareeha, there is a clash with another innovative, transformative thing which has come, and that is also an offshoot of NEP 20 only, and that is to introduce holistic progress card,
Yeah.
and that is PARAK, performance assessment review analysis of knowledge for holistic development. And a lot of work has already been done. For foundation years it is done, the preparatory years it is done, the middle is in the pipeline, and I'm sure the logical extension is to class 9 and 10. Now that reform is coming or transformation is coming, and on the other hand we are extending the board examination. So there will be a clash between the two. The game plan under Parak is that 9th to 12th will be treated as one continuum,
Yeah.
and class 12 will be the final outcome, where the contribution of class 12 will be only 40%. 60% will come from 9th, 10th, and 11th.
11th.
So
Yeah.
I think that is going to be a game changer. And therefore, my personal opinion is that when it is only a year or two in between, this new board examination in this format perhaps could have waited.
Yeah, definitely. Meeta ma'am, so you were also just mentioning about practices in other countries as well. So if we would like to draw some inspiration from any other country to make this policy perhaps even a little more better, or if there some other countries already implementing a similar policy, would you like to tell our viewers about it, please?
Yeah, I'm not a huge advocate of looking at other countries for the Indian context. Normally, even though of course we can learn from everybody, the whole Finland thing is absolutely very glamorous and wonderful. But the Indian context itself is so very rooted and so individual and so much bigger than most other countries that we really have to create or co-create for ourselves. At the same time, there is some inspiration. For example, the UK A levels can be taken over 2 to 3 years. People take 3 exams in the first year and 3 in the next year, because these are very high quality exams, especially the higher levels. If you're aiming for a five, multiple stars, A stars, etc., if you're aiming for that. So this is a slowing of the pace, which has been indicated by this CBSE policy, which says you can take 3 exams now and 2 or 3 later. But
Later, yeah.
not really good enough to actually make it as stress free. You just compacted it into 3 months. 3 months is not enough. It's neither here nor there. But my other thing that I think that we can take a lot of inspiration from, and then I want to come back to another of Ashok's points, the third inspiration we can take. The other thing we can take inspiration from is the SAT exams. Now, the SAT is held on a regular basis across different centers, across different countries. You can take the SAT exam wherever you want to, whichever city you sign up for, wherever you're traveling to. However, of course, you depend upon school infrastructure for the tables and the seats, etc. So it's often conducted on a Saturday. But what happens there is you, at each point of time, you present the best of yourself. So for each, again, individual case, you are able to take the best of your marks and present that. This CBSE policy does that, which means if you have done well in the first set of exams, you may even choose not to sit for the second set of exams.
Yeah.
Or you may say, okay, I've taken admission into class 11, I've moved on to the university. I might as well just give it a try and improve myself. If I don't improve myself, I have nothing to lose. So for a majority of people, you will only have a possibility of an upgrade, a
Yeah.
possibility of happiness over there, right? Because you're getting more time and you've had the experience of the first set of exams. So that again, inspiration has already been taken over here. Where we do need inspiration is from the skills sector globally. And that is where you have a separate set of instructors and a whole other cadre doing assessment, verification, quality, and administration. So that is a cadre that we do not have in India over yet. Ashok, you are absolutely right. Can the teachers be in school? Do they only have invigilation experience? Can they actually manage an entire center? They do not have the qualification. They do not have the training. In the middle of invigilating another set of exams, they want to look after their students back in the classroom. Those who love teaching should really focus on teaching, and we do need to step into the next phase of examinations where we have, and in fact in my ideal world, you will have examination centers where these examinations are walk-in. I want to improve my maths class 10 exams. I'm 40 years old. I totally regret the fact that I left that 2 marks in at that point of. Can I walk into a center and sign up for that? In my ideal world, long, much beyond today, I would like to be able to walk in and improve my marks from a previous incident, which means you will have to have that entire infrastructure set up. You may have it in public libraries. Walk into a public library, use digital infrastructure, tap, and a lot of professional things like the SEMA, the management exams, the ICFA exams are all on demand. So exams on demand are very much possible given the technology of today. Exams on demand where you have a ramp up saying, okay, I will take the easy or the moderate, or we have it in quizzes all the time, on online quizzes, newspaper quizzes. We should be able to do it for examinations as well. The CBSE has already indicated you can take it at 2 levels. This is where you will need digitization. What does that mean? That means fundamentally the digital divide in the country has to be addressed. What does it mean for the big picture? Fundamentally, the assessment capacity in the country has to be addressed. Two things that this policy is saying we are trying, but till these two things are addressed, we are unable to take the bold step that is necessary. This is why we have to be at this halfway house right now, which is saying we're giving you the chance, we're giving you the challenge, but we know we can do better.
Yeah. So now CBSE has actually invited all stakeholders to give their suggestions, like how to further improve this policy. So I will ask both of you first, Ashok sir, as a stakeholder, what would you like to suggest to the board to further probably make it even better, or you would like to get suggest them to add something to it?
Yeah, so two or three things I think both Meeta and I have indicated to that. So, I mean, let us say that they had to go for this board examination. They had to keep in mind some of the flip side of it. And therefore, my suggestion would be, namely, number one, for a long time, I have been advocating that the schools must be trusted a little more. You see, except for this final examination of 10th and 12th, out of the 14 years of their stay in the schools, all examinations are given by the teachers, evaluated by them, assessed by them, and they only make them go for lifelong learning and lifelong successes, isn't it? And therefore, to offload the board's pressure of this final examination to an extent to the schools will be a better thing. And then the technology's intervention, as Meeta was suggesting, will be much more easier for the board. So this is one thing. The second thing is Parak is coming very close, parallelly running. And therefore, the board or the policymaker should not be oblivious of the great potential that Parak is parallelly offering, right? And my fear is that it may derail that whole process, which is already underway for the last as long as 2 years. So this is my second suggestion. And the third suggestion, of course, is, as you mentioned in your opening remarks, that since we had the CUET, and after that, all the examinations are competition based. So I
Yeah.
think there should be a rethink that how much we are saying that we want to reduce the pressure, but we are doing everything to increase the pressure. And
Yeah.
if we are really reducing it and if we are really serious about it, then let us have this 10th and 12th and let everything fall on the basis of these two examinations, because we are making it more flexible, we're making it more choice based, we are making it more inclusive. Let us improve the standards of teaching and learning, give these board examinations. Then why do we have the competitive examinations at all, which already has a new chapter of a lot of things which probably the scope of this discussion does not permit. So I mean, these are the two or three things that I have in mind. uh,
Yeah.
and and just in summary, uh,
Yeah.
we could have waited, number one. Of course, Meeta will not agree because she has already waited for 5 years. She said, I have also waited, but I have not waited for 5 years for this. I have waited for 5 years to do the real reforms in the whole assessment thing. We are doing one reform after the other reform.
Yeah. So, and Meeta ma'am, over to you now. What will be your recommendation as a stakeholder to this draft policy?
Um, One, I really appreciate the fact that public consultation, which again started with the very process of the NEP, has been upheld. The years when we were growing up, in the years that I used to work only in the policy space, I remember the policy consultations were restricted to a very small elite group. I think this is an indication, actually, that this is an emergency that we are talking about, even though we're speaking in very calm terms. We're saying, sitting in 2025, we have a few positives. And The fact that, for example, the public consultation has continued to happen, it is not restricted to the elite. That's a positive. I would encourage that going forward in the education policy space. I would also say that there has to be a filter for two or three things. One, there has to be a very strong filter for knee jerk panicked reactions, because examinations have always been seen as something that is make or break for your life. Ashok
Yeah.
very well pointed out there's a difference between a qualifying examination, the 10th and the 12th, which basically says, I have attained this standard and a very basic standard, versus competitive exams. Keep your stress for competitive exams. That's a whole other universe. This is
Yeah.
simply about walking into the room and calmly saying, I can do what I can do. Here is a certificate that tells you that you don't have to ask me the same questions again. It's a very basic thing. So we need to calm down, and therefore the feedback process also has to filter out a lot of the high decibel, how will this happen, etc. That, and a little bit, I am still saying that this change is a little bit too slow and a little bit too little. I want more of this for it to actually be effective. You wholly agreeing with Ashok over here. More of this would have actually reduced the stress. We haven't done enough over here, so let's do better. Let's do better. Another filter that I would like to see over here is a filter against AI. I think AI is absolutely wonderful in handling a lot of administrative tasks. The administrative administration of the assessment area
Hmm.
should use that, but let us not fall into the trap of predictive marks done by machines based on the past history of students. So there are ethical issues, there are gatekeeping issues, there are discussions on where the technology should be deployed and where it should not. So what I would love to see, and my suggestion here would be, look at technology and digitization for scaling up. Scaling up the optionality, scaling up the chances that you give for students, scaling up in such a way that it actually gives access, inclusion, the standard pillars of what CBSE and the Education Ministry actually are doing very, very well. But the scale impact of it is not seen in this particular announcement. CBSE is, of course, only one of the boards. But I would have loved to see that scale impact where everybody sort of, the first reaction is, this is actually going to make it easier for us because we have this support. I'm not seeing that yet, and therefore that we know that this is a first step. There is a way to go. And stakeholder as a student, I would say, think of the chances you're getting. Don't stress about it as a second exam. It's only making it easier. To the teachers, I will say it's just another way of handling. There's a lot of change coming your way. This is actually one of the simplest changes. To administrators, I will say we are an always on world now. We cannot stay in the 1970s. I'm sorry if you were a little bit afraid of doing the same work 3 times a year, but it's not as difficult as it sounds when you have the support and when you have the right kind of resources. Ask for those resources and work smart. In India, we are very, very good at frugal innovation. This is an
Yeah.
opportunity for us to showcase that we can do it. If it is going to succeed, scale at for an opportunity, it will succeed in India. It's the only place where we get it right.
So yeah, absolutely. Policies needs to
Yeah.
evolve continuously. Yes, so you would like to add something to
I
it?
just wanted to, take up the last point that Meeta made, which is a very, very important point, and that needs a lot of reinforcement. All our discussions somehow they center around CBSE, which
Yeah.
has got only 30,000 schools. We are 69 other boards.
Yes.
I think our policies, actual intent should be as to how we are going to handle those 69 boards and those so many children who also appear for boards in class 10 and 12.
Because they make the majority of students enrolled in school education in India.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you so much for sharing your insights, ma'am. And it was a great conversation with you both. Now it is yet to be seen how the policy will come in its final shape. And I think it'll take some time. Thanks a lot for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Thank you,
much.
Fareeha. Thank you.